Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and joining me tonight is Joe. How are you doing, bud?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Life's been hectic, but the Cubs are, making some noise.
Dude, the Cubs are hot as hell right now. It is a beautiful thing to see. And they've gone from bubble to firmly buyers. I mean, this has got to be exciting. I mean, they're not even technically out of the running for wild card. They're still in the running for the division.
They were 3.5 back in the wild card. They're 4 back on Cincinnati starting tonight, and they're playing in Cincinnati at Wrigley this week for 4 games. So do the math.
Yeah, good things could be happening. That's for sure. So Jason is off tonight, and unfortunately was too busy to give us his updates. Although I pretty much know his opinion on the things from the Phillies game yesterday, so we'll hit that quick later when we get to the Phillies, and we'll roll with that. So Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sticking with the Evan Williams cherry, it worked out well last week. I'm going to stick with it now.
That's a good choice, man. So for me tonight, I am drinking from Lancaster Brewing Company a strawberry wheat ale. I am unfortunately being lazy. I am not going to pour it into a glass and put a strawberry in there like they do at restaurants that serve it, but that's okay. It's a nice light summer ale, though, and you know me, I'm a sucker for strawberries. Always have been.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's roll into this tonight. First up, I wanted to toss out for David Bell. He got extended by the Reds, 3-year extension through the 2026 season. Frankly, extremely well-deserved extension. He's been the manager of the Reds since October of 2018. He initially signed a 3-year deal through 21 with a club option for 22, and then at the end of 21, he's got a 2-year extension through the end of this year. So he's going to be with him through 2026, barring a firing offense before then. But the way they're going with the way this young talent is coming up, I don't see that happening, frankly. The 3 years prior to Bell's arrival, the Reds went 203 and 283. That's a whopping 418 winning percentage. In the 5 seasons since, they're 307 and 343. So they're not quite back to 500, but they're getting a lot closer. I think that's like a 483 winning percentage. And they did have that postseason appearance in 2020 before they got knocked out by the Braves. So, he's doing good things in Cincinnati. Absolutely the right decision by the Reds, I think, to extend him. Keep it going, man. Things are going very well down in Cincinnati. Don't you don't want to change the leader in the middle of a good race, as they say. So, great news for David Bell. And it's funny. It's a 3-generation because his dad was a player and I believe a manager as well, Buddy Bell, and either a brother or was his brother or was his grandfather that played. Anyway, he's the Bell family is one of the few families to have 3 generations to play MLB, so that's pretty cool as well. So, Joe, you excited to keep facing David Bell for the next couple of years?
Hey, man, getting what you deserve. You've done a good job there, and you've earned it. And it's kudos to him for making the best of what looked like a really bad situation.
Yeah.
To start the year. So I mean, look, he's done a great job, and you can't really fault him for that.
And I remember when he was hired, everybody said he was nuts taking that job because it was just so bad. And yet he's turned it into something pretty damn good. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, he's done a great job. I think the fact that the expectations were really low and management said, you know what, let's just bring these guys up, see what happens. And they've hit lightning in a bottle, and
yeah.
We'll see what happens down the stretch here. But I mean, good on David Bell for doing all the right things to steer the ship in the right direction and kind of wading through the bad years, and here he is.
Yeah. All right. So, Joe, who needs to read the room tonight?
Well, there's a couple of things with this. So, the pitcher suspensions are ridiculous to me. Anytime a pitcher gets suspended, it's for 5 games, so it's only 1 start. I'd like to propose that they go to 3 starts minimum for any pitcher suspension, because then they at least feel the pain of being a frickin' moron. And we saw this firsthand, obviously, with the Cardinals Cubs series this week. It's the fact that you get a 5-game suspension and a starting pitcher only misses one start is just idiotic to me. If you want to do 5 games for a reliever, that I get, but starting pitching suspensions have to be changed because they need to feel more of a hit, financially and to their team, in order to stop some of the nonsense that happens.
I agree, and this is something I've complained about for years. Actually, is that big old brawl starts, and pitcher beans the batter charges the mound, tackles the pitcher, and then you have a good old benches clearing, bullpen clearing brawl, and then the pitcher's gonna get 12 games, the batter gets 12 games, and that's not an equal suspension because the pitcher's only losing 2 starts. Now, I'm not saying that the pitcher should lose 12 starts. That would be ridiculous. But, cut it in half. So let's say, if the batter's got to lose 12 games, pitcher's got to lose 6 starts or 4 starts or something like that. You're right. It's just such a bad system in place right now that starters really have basically no consequences to beating a guy other than maybe losing a game. And that's just not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it doesn't make a ton of sense that you're going to punish a starter and you're only going to miss 1 game, and there's not going to be that residual effect in the locker room, and you're gonna lose if you change the suspension stuff. You're going to lose a lot of this unwritten rule nonsense that we all know exists, but don't necessarily agree with it being carried out all the time.
Yeah, definitely not. All right. Anybody else need to read the room, or are you going to use that as your segue into the Cubbies?
We'll segue this into the Cubbies. The St. Louis Cardinals announcing crew, and we'll set this up first. But so the Cubs are playing, obviously, the Cardinals. They started this 4-game set on Thursday, and 12 pitches in, 10 pitches in, obviously. Ian Happ is up and has a very long and extended backswing. He always has had it. It's nothing new. It's not something exaggerated because of who's behind the plate. It's got nothing to do with it. But he has this backswing, and it ends up clipping Wilson right in the mask, and it digs right into his skull and causes Wilson to have a bleed on his head. They couldn't really get it to slow down. They couldn't get it to stop. And so Wilson comes out of the game. And as Wilson is walking off the field, him and Ian Happ, are obviously they're good friends. They played together for so long. Share a nice moment and kind of go like, hey, sorry, it all seemed to be forgiven. It kind of washed under, and then they kind of patched things up. And the game should just carry on. Okay, yeah, 10 pitches in. Yeah, I get it. But, okay, enough's enough. And he thought it was resolved until Miles Mikolas decided to be an idiot. And I've said this before when we've talked about pitchers who throw at somebody after something happens. Right? You get one shot at this. If you miss the first time, don't do it again. You're a moron. You get one shot at the apple if you're going to do this unwritten rule stuff and you're going to throw at somebody. Period. You get one shot at it. And you aim somewhere where it's not going to detrimentally affect their life. Okay? The very next pitch after Wilson leaves the game, high and tight up in the chin. Misses him, but high and tight and too close for comfort, right? Misses him. Comes right in the next pitch, does his normal windup, but does this goofy toss and 90 mile an hour at Ian Happ's hip and hits it. Happ's expecting it obviously after the high and tight pitch, so he tosses his bat and walks to first. And then the umpires get together and they start talking about this situation, and they immediately toss Mikolas. And Mikolas was obviously disappointed by this. He was frustrated. He was angry. 12 pitches in, he gets tossed. And Marmol continues to argue, and Marmol gets tossed. So that's how the game starts. And there's 2 outs in the first inning. So by not letting bygones be bygones, Mikolas puts his team at a disadvantage because you've got a guy in the bullpen who just sat down after getting comfortable, and he's trying to wait out the heat a little bit and warm up when he has to, and now he's got to rush in and warm up. So Mikolas doing this is idiotic. Marmol ordering it is idiotic because I'm sure he did. And then the reaction when Mikolas gets tossed from Chip Carey and the color analyst, who I don't know his name off the top of my head, they're like, really? You're tossing him? Like, read the game. And it's like, dude, you had 2 shots at this. You threw it his freaking face and missed. You don't get 2 bites at the apple for that, But the way that they carried on and asked him to, thought that the umpire should read the game a little bit, understand the situation. And it's like, situation was resolved 3 pitches ago when Ian Happ and Wilson hugged it out. This didn't need to happen. So the belly aching from the Cardinal announcing crew about that whole situation really just ticks me off. Like I said, you get 1 bite at the apple when you're going to throw at somebody because of something that happens. It's just ridiculous.
It looks like it was either Jim Edmonds or Al Habrowski.
I think it was Habrowski.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Didn't sound like Jim Edmonds.
I mean,
it was just
Habrowski's a '70s era guy that was used in brawls and shit like this.
Yeah, it was really stupid. I'm like, wait a minute, guys. Like, the backswing that was innocent and unintentional, and throwing at his face, missing, and then throwing at his hip. Which one is the problem here? Like,
if you miss your 1 shot and then you immediately go inside and hit him, like, come on, that's an easy one for the umpire to just toss you on. Come on, that's not. Oh, the first one got away from me, and the second one was me trying to pitch inside. No.
I mean, I sent you guys the shot of the pitches, and it's pretty obvious what they were doing the first pitch after Wilson left the game. So, like, it just wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I was watching the video replay and that, and whether Marmol ordered it or not, it wasn't going to be an automatic ejection if the dude would have just kept his damn mouth shut, because 1, he wasn't going to get his pitcher back anyway. His pitcher made an idiotic choice, so he deserves to sit down. Number 1. Number 2, you get your bullpen guy up. They're going to get all the time they need to warm up. I mean, I know it's rushed, but they'll get time because it's, anytime it's an ejection or an injury, they're not going to just force you to rush a pitcher in. They don't want to get the guys hurt. So, like, if he was arguing because he felt like he needed to give his next guy more time, that's even dumber. Like, why? Why? Especially when you see the catcher and the batter make up right then and there. Okay, if the dude who got hit in the head is good, then let it go, man.
I mean, you're a dumpster fire of a team already. You're the worst team in the league. Like, settle down. Don't be dumb. Don't throw any more attention to yourself than the fans already have coming your way. The fact that Marmol is still the manager at this point is surprising to me.
Yeah. I'm really surprised they've given him as long of a leash as they have. I half expect him to have been fired before now.
I mean, to have that roster and be this underperforming, and then you go and pull stupid shit like this. I mean, it Suck Lewis River chickens. Live it up, man.
The
Might as
Bush
well enjoy
League
it
goes to
now.
the Bush Stadium.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many? No, I think that's good. We'll roll with those two. I mean, we could probably go for another 5 minutes bashing St. Louis and all that, but those are two good ones. We'll let it sit at that.
Yeah.
But
So going into the rest of this game here, obviously, um, um, Hap is on base, and then Saya and Cody get on base after that, and then Dansby walks, and Hap scores a run. So Michaelis gets the loss and a five game suspension. So well deserved on his part. Way to earn it. Um, but the Cubs put up 3 runs then in the top of the first, 2 more in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth, and 2 in the seventh, and 1 in the ninth. Like you put your team behind the 8 ball for the rest of the series. Hudson for his credit comes in and does 4 and a third, 9 hits, 5 runs after that mess that he was given. But and lost behind all this nonsense is the fact that Justin Steele gutted out another 6 innings, 5 hits with 1 run. The guy's been excellent. Talkman was 3 for 6 in this game. Belly was 3 for 5. I mean, those two have been insanely hot, and Belly gets to play first with Talkman in the game. So Mikolas putting himself behind the 8 ball, and then of course, against your rival. It's one thing if you're playing a crappy team that nobody cares about, but it's your rival. That stadium is packed with a bunch of fans in blue shirts. Like, you're not making yourself any friends in this one.
Ronnie just chimed in, bring Yachty in to be the manager. I mean, at this point, Yachty would probably do a better job than Marble has done this season. They are so bad.
Hell, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So anyway, the Cubs take the first game of this series thanks to this Michaelis debacle, 10-3. Win the second game on Friday, 3-2 on a beautiful double play first in the ninth inning between Nico. Wasn't even facing second when he threw it to Swanson, and then Swanson to Belly for the double play. And then the last out of that ninth inning, Mike Talkman robs a homer, beautifully robs a homer off of, I forget who it was that was hitting it. But, Newbar had a great game, but if it weren't for Newbar, this is an awful series overall for St. Louis. But a 3-2 win Friday night. Alzolay gets a save. More on that later. It started what was the beginnings of a great weekend. They go win 5-1 on Saturday. Tyone has a great ERA since July started, so Tyone's back to normal. Ian Happ had a homer. And then Sunday, you knew they were going to run out of steam at some point. They lose the game 3-0. Kyle had a great start, but the offense just wasn't there. The way they've been hitting, and we'll get to the Sox series here in a second. The way they've been hitting, it's been, it was bound to cool off at some point. Going into that Sunday game, they had won 8 in a row, so you figured they were due for one. But again, Kyle's been pitching excellent in his new role. Starting it and giving them some good innings. And then you go back to the beginning of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday was the Crosstown Cup with the White Sox. There'll be 2 more games at Wrigley later in July, or in August, I should say. They win the first one 7-3 behind Kyle Hendricks and Alzolay. Swanson with a homer, Seiya with a homer, Swanson has 3 hits in this game. Suzuki robs a grand slam to keep the game at 7-3 in the or to make the game 7-3 in the 7th. A great defensive week all around for the Cubs. A great offensive week from folks like Ian and Cody. They win the Wednesday game 10-7. a side gets the win and that one goes a lot of innings there. So it was a really good week for the Cubs. I can't complain too much. And last week, um, with my drink, I had the Diet Mountain Dew because I just wasn't sure what team I have, and I've got the strong team with a fight. So keep it up, boys.
Yeah, it was that's maybe the best week the Cubs have had all year. Pretty damn close to it. So really happy for you, Joe. You were due for a good week. Couple of stinkers in the middle of that.
Yeah, man.
All right, so moving on. Just yesterday, we had another milestone for the season. Justin Verlander picked up his 250th career win against the Nationals. He struck out 5 over 5 1/3, so congratulations to Verlander. That may also be the last win he gets in a Mets uniform. We will have to wait and see on that. Scherzer's already gone, so who knows how long Verlander will be there. For the Braves last week, a little bit of a mixed bag. They got swept by Boston in the mini-series in Boston. They lost game 1 7-1. Pivetta took the win. Morton took the loss. They never should have played that game, or they should have moved that game into a doubleheader, the next day or something, because, Charlie Morton came in and it was very plain and obvious that he had sat for an hour 40 and was trying to get stretched back out, and it was just not a good outing for him. And I think that the rain delay had everything to do with it. But we saw something absolutely crazy that we have not seen in many, 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 many years, like since the 1800s. We saw, first of all, the first triple play of the season was turned by Atlanta, and it was one of the craziest ones I think I've ever seen. It was an 8-3-5. So Tristan Cass hit a shallow fly ball that Adam Duvall was on first base. I guess he thought that the ball was going to drop because I guess he forgot how fast his former teammate is. Or maybe he figured if I was still Atlanta center fielder, there's no way in hell I was going to catch that. So Harris is able to snag the shallow fly, fires it over to first to get Duvall, and then Matt Olson was, of course, paying attention because that's what he does. Fired across the diamond to Riley at third to tag out Yoshida, trying to tag up after he saw Duvall was going to get caught at first. So that was an 8-3-5 triple play.
Beautiful thing.
Right? The last time that happened, I think, was like 1894, something like that. And it was also turned by the Boston Beaneaters, who are the predecessors of your modern day Atlanta Braves. So apparently 8-3-5 triple plays are only allowed to be turned by members of the Atlanta Brave franchise, because that's probably one of the, if not the rarest types of triple play you will ever see. So even though they lost, it was still quite entertaining just, because of that. I mean, that was some of the, until the Phillies game on Sunday, Joe, that was some of the worst base running I have ever seen in Major League Baseball. But, of course, the Phillies had to one up that Sunday, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. So that was, the Boston mini series, and then Atlanta came home for Milwaukee, and the bats just poured on the Brewers, which I'm sure I was thoroughly enjoying, and Joe, I'm sure you were thoroughly enjoying as well.
Anytime Milwaukee loses, it's a good day.
Damn right it is. So game 1 was a 10-7 win. Colin McHugh took the win for the Braves. Hauser took the loss for the Brewers. Iglesias picked up his 19th save. Game 2 was an 11-5 shellacking. Elder picked up his 8th win of the season. Tehran took his 5th loss. And on Sunday, Kirby Yates picked up the win late with an 8-6 victory. Payampas picked up the loss, and Iglesias had his 20th save of the year. I'm not gonna highlight too many things right now with the Braves, but I do want to note that once again, Austin Riley has basically turned the National League pitching staffs into his personal punching bags ever since the All-Star break, kind of like what he did last year when he got hot in August. Definitely a second half player, Mr. Riley. So Olson is still, leading the National League in home runs and RBIs. I mean, when we upgraded from Freddie to Olson, and upgrade is kind of a stretch because there's something. There's still a lot I like about Freddie's game. He's a much better contact hitter with good power, but he doesn't have the power Olsen is showing this year. Both Gold Glove quality gloves over there, but ever since everybody's wondering, is Olsen going to be okay? Because last year, he had a lot of ups and downs. And I think that was, getting adjusted to coming home and new crowd, big contract, lots of expectations. He's loose this year, and you can tell the way he is swinging the bat. So, the Braves offense just had an absolute nice showing this weekend with Milwaukee. I saw that the Brewers fans' social media was rather distraught at watching their team give up 29 runs over the course of 3 games. When your team is built around pitching and very little offense, that tends to happen, especially when your best pitchers are hurt. So now that said, Milwaukee has been trying to address that, and when we get to the trade deadline stuff, we'll mention a little bit Milwaukee's been doing. But yeah, Joe, I'm disappointed at the start of the week, but again, that first game they should just made a doubleheader the next day and then moved on. I hate it when MLB does that. If it's going to be more than an hour and a half, just cancel the damn game unless it's like a 1:00 start. If it's a 1:00 start. Okay, but like these late games, don't push it.
No, I mean if you're delaying it already an hour or two, I mean that's too much at that point of the night. If you can't start the game a 7:00 game by 8:30, don't bother.
Yep, just
it's disingenuous. It's not respecting the fans' money and time. It's not respecting, any of that. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when I was in Chicago and we went to the game, that was supposed to be a 1:00 start originally. At like 7 a.m, they bumped it to 4. So you're like, okay, good. Like you're bumping it now because we know it's going to be crappy, right? And then you get downtown to Wrigleyville and you're sitting there at like 2 or 3 o'clock and you're like, there's no way this game's starting at 4 o'clock. But at least they like put the buffer in there, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the day. So you didn't have, fans showing up at 10 a.m. and drinking all day at Murphy's is waiting for this game to start.
Yeah.
People were coming in at 2 because, well, the earliest this game is starting is at 4. And then it became pretty clear at 2:30, 3 o'clock, this game ain't starting at 4 o'clock.
Right.
And it all worked out in the end. But like you said, the late games having that bump where it doesn't start till 9 o'clock or something like that is just ridiculous.
Yes. Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And like at that point, like no starting pitcher ever fares well when they're forced to come in after that long delay. And I personally, as a fan, if I'm paying money to be there, I want to see the starter when he's fresh, not when he's tried to warm up 18 times to stay loose for an hour and 40-minute rain delay. It's just not good baseball.
Right. Like, if you scout a schedule, right, and this is the one game you pick to go to because, in your case, let's say Max Fried's pitching. In my case, Kyle or Justin is pitching, right? Mm-hmm. I picked that game for a reason.
Yeah.
If I bought my tickets, a few days in advance because I knew who was pitching. And I'm not going to get top quality Justin Steele. You're not going to get top quality Max Fried if they have to try to warm up, like you said, 18 times.
Yep, exactly.
Whatever it is. It's ridiculous. Be respectful of the players. Be respectful of the fans. You may get some crap from some people. The majority of fans are going to appreciate the fact that you took their feelings and their investment into consideration.
Exactly. When me and Matt were at the Phillies Braves game last year, we didn't stay all the way till the end of the rain delay because the rain delay went on so long, and because Citizens Bank Park does not have enough standing area that is underneath bleachers to keep you dry. That's something else they have to keep in mind too, is because I've never been up to Fenway, but looking at the plans, there's not a ton of covered space up there either because it's such a small ballpark. So
yeah, underneath the bleachers is about the only spot you've got there. It's not much.
Yeah.
The only option you have, I mean, at Wrigley, it's hopping to a bar on the corner, you know,
At least there's a
if it's
bar.
before the game. But yeah,
All right, so Joe, let's move it on. Looking at the fantasy from this past week, what I thought was going to be a much closer matchup between the two of us, my pitching finally showed up for the first time in a month and a half and turned into a rout as I took you down 17-9, and then Ronnie, of course, his team decided, as it has been doing all season, that it only shows up against my team. Just rolled over against Jason and got dropped 20-5. So even though I won big this week, I still lost 3 games in the standings as Jason has a 7-game lead on me. But yeah, as you're going to mention later, several of my Braves players really helped to push me through quite effectively this week. And when my pitching finally shows up the way it's supposed to, that's what you're going to see is my team just roll like that. So not that your team had a really bad week, but for once the stars actually lined up for me, which means it won't happen again this season.
look, I mean, what was funny about us is that Friday this was like a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Us.
I was not expecting more than a 4.
Saturday afternoon after Friday night's games or something like that. Saturday was like, I'm like, oh crap. Like, this has completely gone the other way and there's no way to fix this.
Yeah. I don't think I have ever seen a swing like that late in the week. You don't
I mean, it was.
I
think it was 13-10 on Friday night, and all of a sudden it was 17-9, and I'm like, well, what the hell?
So yeah, it was a nice week for me. I was not expecting when I saw that 13-10. I was like, okay, we're gonna have a 3 to 4 point margin, and that's gonna be it. And you know what? I can live with that. And then the blowout happened. I'm like, okay, I can really live with that.
What can I say? I tried to keep you close to Jason.
You did what you could. Now, if only Ronnie's team could have done a little more for me, that would have been great. So this week is a Jason Andrew week, and you've got Ron this week, Joe. I'm set. Like I said, I'm 7 games behind Jason. You are 25.5 behind, and Ron is 79.5 games behind. As Ron has said a couple times, both on the show and in the comments, he's just waiting for the playoffs because that's when the big push is going to happen. So,
yeah. Look, I mean, I think it's been a bit of bad luck for Ronnie. I think I've had some bad luck there too. You and Jason, it's always kind of tricky, but Jason usually prevails over you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I don't get it. I do not understand. Well, we had that tie the 1 week too, which was just wild. I've never had a head-to-head matchup end in a tie.
Right.
So, so that we'll have to see what happens this week. I would love to just pound him in the dirt and knock him out of first place, just even if it's just for 1 week, so he doesn't go wire to wire. That's my goal at this point. Stop the wire to wire run that Jason's on, or knock him out in the very last week of the season, the championship game. One of the two.
And all I'll say is I'll do what I can.
That's true. He cannot beat your team.
He's beat me 1 time of the 6 times we've played. So, whether that's a great thing or a bad thing, I don't know.
Who knows?
Or if it's just good luck, I don't know.
Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, man.
Yeah, really.
All right, let's roll it into the trade deadline. This has been what started really mild and tame has turned pretty wild over the last 3-4 days. I'm going to focus on a couple teams and what they've done so far. I don't have what happened so far this evening as Morris rolled in. So Joe, I'll let you hit that as soon as I get done with these. So I'm going to start with the Angels. Clearly, they are going all in, not only in trying to keep Shohei Ohtani, but bringing players in to show Shohei that, hey, we are going to invest in this team around you. You should re-sign with us. They trade with the Rockies to pick up C.J. Cron and Randall Grichuk, and they also picked up some cash in the deal. They sent over Mason Albright, their number 28 prospect, and Jake Madden, their number 8 prospect. Now, to be fair, they're both low A level pitching prospects. So C.J. Cron, he's come back to the team that drafted him. They've been cycling guys at first base like it's a revolving door into a fancy New York City hotel. So Cron he's not having an all-star year, but even what he is doing is better than what they've had so far. So I think it was a good trade. Neither of the low A prospects were highly rated low A prospects. So and here's the thing, Joe, the Angels have been so bad at developing pitching that I think that's probably a pretty safe trade on the side of the Angels, that the Rockies will probably not get too much value out of that. And to be fair, with the season that Grichuk and Cron are having, I think the Rockies knew that there really wasn't going to be much coming back for them. And then after that, they traded with the White Sox in the fire sale the White Sox are having. They got Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez for left-hander Kyle Busch, their number 3 prospect, and Edgar Carrero, a catcher, their number 2 prospect. Now, much bigger trade here. This was the first big splash of the trade deadline. The rotation has been bad. Outside of Ohtani, they've got a 4.62 ERA. It was a good move. And if you're going all in, that's the kind of move you have to make. I think the White Sox really got a great haul back for this trade, considering Giolito is a free agent at the end of the year. So they are not going to get more than a couple months out of him, unless they can re-sign him, of course. Again, you got to worry about pitchers coming out of the Angels organization, but Edgar Guerrero looks like he has got really good potential as a catcher. So I think the White Sox made an excellent call here. Joe, what do you think what the Angels are doing?
Yeah, I think obviously, like you said, they're clearly trying to make a push because they're either going to bring back Ohtani or hope that he takes less money, or they're going to lose him and they figure let's just go out with a bang and see what happens. So you can't fault them for trying. I think Cron is an upgrade for sure. Grichuk is an upgrade for sure. Giolito has been up and down, but then again, he's been pitching for the White Sox, and they've been mostly down. So Lopez has been excellent out of the bullpen for them. So this is a great pickup for the Angels. I do think Rick Hahn and the White Sox kind of fleeced the Angels on this one. Catcher is a position they absolutely needed. So I do think the White Sox win this trade long term. Whether it's enough to do for the Angels to make something happen this year, we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I just looked up Lopez is a free agent after this season as well. So that was really a very steep price they paid for those two guys.
It's really a seller's market with pitching, as we'll see.
Yeah,
I think through tomorrow.
I'm sure we're still going to see some ridiculous trades go down tomorrow.
Absolutely.
The Braves, as expected, very minimal deals so far. First, they made a trade with the Rockies. They got their closer, Pierce Johnson. They gave up Victor Vodnik and Tanner Gordon, Atlanta's number 10, number 26 prospects. I like the trade. Johnson's ERA is at 6, but it's been trending down over the last month or two. The last month and a half, he's actually been really solid. I think mid 3s. Hard arm, good swing and miss stuff. And, we already have Iglesias as the closer, so he'll be like a 6, 7, 8 inning guy. He's not going to be the closer. It's going to take some stress off that arm. The two prospects, Vodnik's been really injury prone. I think he's already had Tommy John surgery once at least. And he's wild. He's at like 4.3, 4.5 walks per 9 right now at, I want to say AA level. Gordon, again, he's a low A guy, very, very long way from being MLB ready. Good potential, but he's very rough. We'll see what's going to happen with him. I think it's a great trade. I think Vodnik was going to be lost to the Rule 5 draft this fall anyway. So I'm perfectly okay with them dumping him now and getting something out of it. Then we traded with the Rangers. We sent them a little cash to pick up left-hander Taylor Hearn. Career 5.11 ERA. Originally picked up to be an extra lefty option of Dylan Dodd's delayed coming back off the IL. He still had some minor league options, so a little flexibility. You know how the Braves love to cycle guys between AAA and the majors.
Absolutely.
So it looked like one of those kind of deals. He pitched 7 innings for the Braves and gave up 8 runs. So clearly not a guy we wanted to keep. So the Braves turned and traded him to the Royals for backup infielder Nicky Lopez. I love the trade. Gives Atlanta more speed off the bench. He's got a great glove. He plays really well at the middle infield positions. He could also play the corners, but he's more of a middle specialist. Good bunter. The last 2 years, he's actually led the American League in sacrifice bunts. He does a good job of putting the ball into play. He's a good contact guy. He just doesn't get a lot of exit velo. Hearn hadn't done much. So, the fact that they were able to flip him and get a solid backup infielder, which is probably one of our biggest areas of need, which, boy, yes, I know. That's serious organizational wealth. If that's your biggest need is a freaking backup infielder. I think the Braves absolutely fleeced the Royals in this trade. A failed starter with options to cycle makes sense for the Braves. This trade makes no sense for the Royals. I don't know what the hell they were thinking in this trade that they said yes to, other than maybe Alex Andopoulos put a spell on their GM and just made him hit the auto accept all trades button like you do in Madden franchise modes, because that's the only way I can see this making any damn sense for the Royals. So he's only 29, so it's not like it's a big veteran presence move for them either. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me as if obviously the Braves are a team that's making more depth moves than anything else. As you always say, and I think I agree with you that you can never have enough pitching.
Yeah, you can never, ever have enough pitching.
You get in a situation where you gotta, you fly off the handle like Miles Michaelis, and you got to rely on your bullpen for 8 innings.
8 and a third.
8 and a third. don't want to discount the third of an inning there. So I think you have to be happy with the moves that they did make, like you said. Johnson being able to be in a more of a setup role, although he does play for the Rockies, so I don't know how much action he got as a closer anyhow.
I think he had 6 saves.
Oh, well, 6, not bad. Not bad.
What can I say? I say? Talking about dumb things teams have done, with forcing your bullpen into long games. I remember that the very last time Acuna got plunked by the Marlins, I can't remember which pitcher it was. Was it Urania? Yeah, it was Jose Urania when he plunked him on the first pitch with the hardest fastball he threw all year, and then made his bullpen go 9 innings, and he still took the loss because Acuna came around to score. Yeah, that's just dumb. All right, so looking at the Rangers here, they are most definitely going all in. They are basically trading for a complete rotation at this point. I know Eovaldi just went on the IL, and he has been their only consistent guy since DeGrom went down. First, they picked up Jordan Montgomery from the Cardinals. They also got Chris Stratton in that deal as well. They sent back left-hander John King, Takoa Robbie, who's a righty, who was their number 11 prospect, and infielder Thomas Sagisi, who's their number 14 prospect. I think that trade made a ton of sense. I think Montgomery's going to pitch well in Texas. And then this was the big surprise. They traded for Max Scherzer, sending away Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald's little brother, their number 3 prospect, number 44 overall in MLB's top 100. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes work to get this done, mostly convincing Scherzer to waive the no-trade clause. And in doing so, he agreed that he would opt in for next season as well. And the Mets are going to be picking up that entire $44 million, other than I think $20 million. The Rangers are like $20 or $22 million between the rest of this year and next year, and the Mets are picking up the rest of that.
Right.
The irony is not lost to me, Joe, that the Rangers are replacing one injured former Mets ace with a different Mets ace.
Yeah, that seems to be their strategy. So we'll see.
Apparently, the Rangers are now using the Mets as a AAA pipeline. Who knew?
Look, I mean, if it works out for them, that's great. And I think obviously, what I find most poetic about Scherzer's nonsense is that we'll get to this in a second, but they got rid of Robertson, and he's like, I'd like to talk to him about their direction, and the Cohen's like, see ya.
Yeah, right.
Like, you sure you want to talk about this? I don't think so, man.
Now,
Don't call ownership out in the media when you haven't had a great year either.
no, very,
Because they will
very,
make an example of
very
you, and they
bad
will do
idea.
it really quick.
Yeah. Now that said, I love the trade for the Mets. Not only getting rid of Scherzer, who has been not a great pitcher this year. He led the National League in home runs allowed. He probably now leads the American League in home runs allowed. Um, a little Acuna, I don't know if he's as good as his brother, but he's got a lot of the same attributes. He plays good defense, he's got good speed, and he's got a good bat. So, one, I can't wait for him to be called up so you can see an Acuna Brothers reunion. That's going to be really cool when that happens because Ronald will get on and then steal second just to screw with his brother because that's what brothers do. Honestly, great trade. That might be the best trade the Mets have made so far for the trade deadline list, even with the Robertson trade.
I think the Rangers, like you said, they're going all in. They've made a lot of good moves. Montgomery's another one where St. Louis has not been great to him, and he hasn't had to pitch a ton. So he should be better.
And the thing I like about that trade, you really in the playoffs you want a big three. You want a big four, but you can roll with a big three. Montgomery, Eovaldi, and Scherzer. That's not a bad three to roll into the playoffs with.
No, not at all.
So Tampa Bay making some small moves. They got Aaron Savale from the Guardians for first baseman Kyle Manzardo. That's a great trade for the Rays. Since Savale came back from the IL in June, in 11 starts, he's got a 2.24 ERA and only allowed 6 earned runs in all of July. He's not going to be free agent eligible until after 2025. It was a steep price for the Rays to pay. Manzardo was their number 4 prospect and number 37 in the top 100. But he's also a little farther away. He is at AAA this year, but his numbers have not been great. He had a great season at high in AA, and AAA has been a little rough for him this year, so he's probably one more year before we'll see if this is the kind of trade that will really bite Tampa Bay in the end or not. But I like the move, especially getting Savali with extra years of control. The Blue Jays going all in, not quite as aggressively. They picked up Jordan Hicks from the Cardinals. They sent back Sam Robertsy, who was their number 7, and Adam Klopfenstein. This was a quick. They lost Jordan Romano, so they quick replaced him with Hicks. That's going to be one of the best bullpens in the playoffs. The Blue Jays make it, Joe. Once Romano comes back and Hicks, that's a lot of firepower at the very end.
Yeah. That's the Jordan from the Cardinals who hasn't gotten a lot of work. I apologize for the mix-up there.
That's all right.
With Montgomery. Montgomery has been a workhorse for them as a starter, but the Cardinals have been on the wrong side of way too many games for Hicks to get a ton of closing experience. So
yeah. And then with the Astros, they picked up Kendall Graveman from the White Sox. They sent back their catcher, Corey Lead, number 32 overall pick in 2019. I don't know what it is, Joe, but this is the second time in 3 years the Astros have picked up Graveman at the trade deadline. They didn't do it last year, but they did it back in 21. Because I remember Graveman being on that roster when the Braves beat them in the World Series. So, the Astros have a known quantity and they like what they see. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that there's something to be said for that. And I think obviously it doesn't hurt that the Sox are basically unloading.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it's kind of like Atlanta and Jesse Chavez. They know what they've got with him, and that's why every time he sneaks away as a free agent, they wait till that team that signed him starts to tank and then send a low-level prospect and get him right back. They like what they got. And then we thought other teams were being aggressive. The Dodgers decided, no, we're going to go hyper aggressive. They decided to jump in on the White Sox fire sale. They picked up Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly. They sent back Nick Nastrini, who was their number 9 prospect, and Jordan LaShore and outfielder Trace Thompson. I wasn't surprised to see this, Joe. Kershaw's been injured. Pepio's injured. Syndergaard's injured, although they shipped him out later. Bueller is injured, and Trevor May is injured. Lance Lynn's not having a great season, but the biggest thing the Dodgers need is they need a guy that's going to eat some innings up and take some strain off that bullpen, which Lance Lynn will definitely be able to do that for them. I love the fact that they brought Joe Kelly back. I will always fondly remember the 2020 season when he threw at both Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa for being cheaters, and then mocked the fact that Carlos Correa was complaining about the near hit by pitch before he struck him out, which then incited a benches clearing brawl during the 2020 COVID season when player contact was as limited as possible, and he earned himself a nice 8-game suspension for it.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I think, honestly, I do think that Lynn is going to be huge for them. Partially because there's a better defense behind him.
That's very true. Especially
in Chicago, that it's TA has been a shell of his old self defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Robert hasn't been able to stay healthy. Eloy hasn't stayed healthy. So, the defense behind him in Chicago has been terrible. Most of those home runs with any other club that he's given up, where there are 2 or 3 run homers, would be solo shots with a better defense. So.
Yeah. And, defense will be better because they picked up Ahmad Rosario from the Guardians. They sent Noah Syndergaard and some cash over, which I think it was basically a salary dump move to get Syndergaard out of there because he's been terrible. Shocker, I know. And then before that, they had also brought Kike Hernandez back, the super utility man. They sent Nick Robertson and Justin Hagenman over to the Red Sox for him. Kike, that's the key right there. Rosario probably will be the everyday shortstop. Miguel Rojas can go back to being utility. Kike's a super utility guy. I mean, his bat hasn't been great this year, but, he could still play almost every position, and he plays it with good defense. So the Dodgers will be able to not only cycle guys and get them days off more easily, but they'll also be able to flex their lineup around much more easily depending on the opposing pitcher. So the Dodgers are definitely gearing up for postseason play. And Robertson and Hagenman, they're almost MLB ready. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Red Sox consider bringing one or both of them up in September this year, or if not, they will be early call-ups next year. So the Red Sox are getting, high-level prospects ready to go. So great trade for them. I don't know that the Dodgers will get quite the value that they sent out on this one.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Red Sox win this trade pretty easily.
And then the Marlins are making some noise. They picked up David Robertson, the Mets' former closer. They sent back Marco Vargas, their number 18 prospect, and catcher Ronald Hernandez, their number 21 prospect. I love the move for the Marlins, get a veteran arm for the postseason run. And both the prospects they sent, I know they were top 30 prospects, but they're playing rookie ball at the Florida Complex League. They're not coming up anytime soon. So the Marlins are good enough that they should be pushing for maybe not buy everything they can, but they should be pushing for a chance to improve their wild card berth at this point. And then they traded with the Twins again. They sent Dylan Floro over and picked up Jorge Lopez. Jorge Lopez, you'll remember, Joe, he was an all-star with the Orioles last year that they traded, which pissed me off at the time, but has really worked out quite well for them. Seeing as they got the other reliever, what's his name, that was in the All-Star game, and they got him back in that deal, and frankly, the Orioles are doing just fine. So basically, the teams are swapping two relievers that have ERAs in the four. So I'm thinking it's just a change of scenery trade.
Yeah, I like the move for Robertson. I'm glad that he's getting a chance to play on another team that gives the Phillies the fits. So torment Jason even more than he already was. Just kidding, Jason. Just kidding.
No, you're not. It's okay.
No, I mean, look, I'm a big Robertson fan. Obviously, he did a lot of great things for the Cubs last year. Um, we got Ben Brown out of that signing from Philly, and he's been really tearing it up in Double A. So look, I think the Marlins have gotten better, obviously, with the deals they've made. It's improving that bullpen is something they desperately needed.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's definitely been an Achilles heel for them for quite some time. The Brewers, who I was just mocking about their lack of offense, decided to do something about. They called the Pirates up and traded for first baseman, not singer, Carlos Santana. They sent back a shortstop, Johnny Severino. Like I said, their perpetual lack of offense is biting them in the behind. Santana's well outside of his prime, but despite a slash line of 235, 321, 412 with 12 home runs, he's going to be the everyday first baseman in Milwaukee. And sadly, Joe, that's going to be an improvement over the group of first basemen they have been running this year. Again, that's 235, 321, 412, and 12 homers. That's an improvement.
I mean, honestly, it's not hard to see that as an improvement given how weak the Brewers are offensively. I mean, that's something we talked about back in March. So, that's a weak spot for them.
And has been for a long time, too.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that is the mess of trades, the big trades that had come out before this evening. Joe, do you have any other big ones from tonight you want to bring up tonight, or?
The Cubs did trade for Candelario from the Nationals and gave up a couple of minor league guys for that. There'll be some cash coming the way of the Cubs in that deal. The talk is heating up about Verlander possibly going back to Houston or maybe to Texas. He has a no trade clause similar to Max's where he's got to approve it. That was another big thing that's kind of running through. So I mean, it's interesting to see what some of these teams are going to do here, but those were the primary big ones. I know. I'm really surprised that Bednar hasn't been moved yet from Pittsburgh. A strong reliever would really make a difference for whatever club he ends up with.
Mm-hmm.
You think if you're Pittsburgh, you kind of have to weigh your odds here. Do you try to get something for the guy, or do you not? At this point, the Diamondbacks did get what's his name?
Paul Sewald.
Yeah, Sewald from the Mariners.
Yes,
and they sent 3 people to the Mariners, so I think. We'll see how it pans out, but I think that's overpaying.
They sent back infielder Josh Rojas, outfielder first base Dominic Canzone, their number 19, and infielder Ryan Bliss, their number 29. So nothing huge, but they did send 2 top 30s back.
Right. I think also the Giants made a deal with the Mariners too, getting AJ Pollock and Mark Mathias. For cash and a player to be named later.
Pollock hasn't been having a great year. 173, 225, 323, 5 home runs. And he is on the 10-day with a hamstring strain. Seattle had actually just claimed Mathias off the waivers from the Pirates in July. So the fact that they were able to flip him and get something, good for the Mariners.
Yeah, the other improvement in the NL Central, the Brew Crew traded for Mark Canha from the Mets. That's an improvement for them. They did send a pitching prospect, Justin Jarvis, to the Mets for that. And his numbers look pretty good. He's Milwaukee's number 30, but his numbers look nice. Like that's a good pickup or a good swap. Um, not too crazy like some of the trades we've seen.
Yeah.
Um,
The Reds, they also picked up a reliever. They picked up left-hander Sam Mole of the A's. They sent back minor league pitcher Joe Boyle, their number 28. And they also got some international pool money out of the deal as well. Mole is 0-3 with a 4.54 ERA, 141 WHIP. He does have a save. Over his big league career, he's a 4.13 ERA guy. So he's not probably going to light too much up, but bolster the bullpen, pick up some innings here and there. Boyle is at AA this year, 19 starts, 6-5, 4.50 ERA, 164 WHIP. He was their 5th round pick in the 2020 draft, actually out of Notre Dame. So, the Reds are making moves. It's good to see. They should have been making moves right after 2020 when they had a team that made the playoffs and almost made it again next year, instead of dumping everything and wasting 2 years before coming back into a playoff run. But what do I know?
Yeah, I do expect a lot more dominoes to fall between now and tomorrow at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever the deadline is. I think it's 6 now.
6.
Used to be 4 o'clock, which made it interesting. Obviously, in the middle of a workday. Let's try to keep up with it, but I think you're going to see a ton more moves. I think Verlander's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I would. If you're a Philly fan, and we'll probably touch on this, like the fact that they haven't made some kind of move at this point is kind of disappointing, extremely disappointing. I would say, the meme of "Come on, do something." Like, Dave, this is Dombrowski. This is your time to shine, man. Make some moves.
I mean, the dude doesn't have the
makes him
nickname
improve.
Dealing Dave for nothing,
Yeah, I mean, it certainly didn't help a lot of these teams that, obviously, Belly was highly talked about being traded, and obviously with the Cubs run, they weren't trading him anymore. Stroman has been down lately, but still has a lot of potential, and because of the way the Cubs played, he wasn't available either. So it's interesting to see sort of what chips are going to fall now that the Cubs had some value they could have contributed to the trade market and obviously are keeping it. So
this is what the Phillies have done since July 20th. Option a guy, sign a free agent to a minor contract. Option, recall. Option, send on a rehab. Activate off the IL. Sign a free agent to a minor league contract. Send on a rehab. Option, sign a free agent to a minor league contract. Activate off the IL. DFA, sign. What the hell? Are they even trying to get a wild card spot?
It certainly doesn't feel that way. I know Jason doesn't feel that way, and I don't say I blame him.
No, I don't either. Give me a sec. I got the wild card standings right here. There's the right tab. Right now, the Phillies are a half game out. Milwaukee is holding on to the tie with Miami for the 2 and 3 wild card spots. Let's remember, if the Phillies wouldn't have thrown an obvious we don't care game in game 1 against the Orioles, they could have swept that series, which was frankly surprising. I don't know what they're doing. Like, they're not going to get the division. Let's be real. The NL East was decided in June when Atlanta went on a tear, and everybody, despite having a good month, still lost ground. Atlanta has not been great since the All-Star break, and they're still holding an 11.5 game lead over the Marlins in second place. So, Ron said the Phillies, they're dog shit. Ron, you're not wrong right now. Especially at the weekend series, but in the Great Poop series. But like, I just don't understand, man. Like, I've never seen Dave Dombrowski in any stop he has ever made in his GM career sit pat at a trade deadline and not do anything. He is either buying everything he can or he is selling with the best of them. Like, this is so out of character for him.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that they haven't done something. Even if it's a minor move to bolster the bullpen until you figure out Sir Anthony's gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
even a bullpen arm makes sense here, and the fact that it hasn't happened yet is kind of strange to me.
Yeah. I am baffled and confused, honestly. Well, speaking of baffled and confused, so the Phillies last week, they lost game one, 3-2 while we were on air. Like I said, as Jason pointed out last week, when you're sitting three major starters, you deserve to lose the game, and they did. And then game two, they won 4-3. Game three was a 6-4 win. And then the great poop series with Pittsburgh, because the scoreboard, no matter if they're in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh to start the game, is always going to say poop. They won game one, 2-1. Wheeler picked up his 8th win of the year. Kimbrel picked up his 17th save. And then things kind of just fell apart the rest of the way. They lost game two, 7-6. Nola picked up his 7th loss of the season. Bednar picked up his 21st save for the Pirates. And on Sunday, in 10 innings, they lost 6-4 on some absolutely questionable at best base running by the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, the Pirates' right fielder's got a cannon. They figured that out on Saturday when he threw out a guy trying to tag home. So in the 10th inning, you've got Harper on third. You've got not Hoskins. You've got Bohm on second. Fly ball out to right. Harper starts to tag, gets halfway down, throws on the brakes with that bullet flying in from right field. Hoskins is already 2/3 of the way up the line and has to scramble back. So the catcher throws him out at second. Then Harper's like, oh, wait, now I'm going to run, turns around and runs, and is gunned down as well. Like, that's basic fundamental baseball. If you're going to commit from third so you don't catch up an extra guy that doesn't need to be caught up.
It just feels to me as if, and I don't know if Jason feels the same way, it just feels like that lineup they threw out against Baltimore was absolute garbage. Like they weren't even trying. And then this crap yesterday with this base running, and then the lack of Dombrowski moves. It almost feels like they think they have enough.
Mm-hmm.
And when they play to their potential, maybe they do, but I can't see not making some sort of move. I really can't.
It makes no sense.
It just feels like they resigned to their fate and think they have enough, like they're the Braves or something. And it's just not making a ton of sense.
Right, and to be fair, they're not going to catch the division. Atlanta's
No, I'm not wanting them to catch the division. I'm thinking,
but what about the wild card?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they care right now.
Like this Phillies team, just because you're not going to catch the division, the wild card is wide open and you're right there. Do something.
You control your own destiny at this point. So
yeah, get in it. It's
so do what you got to do here, and it just doesn't seem like they did end up winning tonight, 4-2 against Miami, and they needed that. But it just feels like the last week or so they just haven't been giving it their best.
Yeah. Well, and before that, they had that loss to Baltimore on last Sunday. They did beat Cleveland in 10, but before that, they had a 4-game losing streak coming off a 4-game winning streak. Like, there's no consistency here, other than that there is no consistency.
Right.
And here's the thing: the next couple weeks, they need to make this move. I mean, they got Miami to start the week, but then they've got Kansas City at home for 3. They've got Washington at home for 4. They've got Minnesota at home for 3. Like, those are 3 series that they should be able to win. Then they go on the road to Toronto for a mini series. They go on the road to Washington, which includes the Little League game, I believe, on August 20th. And, you got to get those wins in, because then you got San Francisco coming in. You got St. Louis coming, which is no threat this year. But then you've got the Angels, you've got the Brewers, you've got San Diego. Like they've got a couple easy series, and they need to start getting the wins now before they start really taking on harder opponents, which means Dombrowski needs to make a damn move.
Yeah.
Ronnie said, "That's Philly for you, always a surprise." Yeah, Ron, you're not wrong. Yeah, I'm baffled and confused. I mean, Jason said, no, where was it? And the other thing that drove Jason nuts with the game yesterday, defense was terrible, non-existent with the pop-up balls, bobbled in the outfield at first. It has to be the worst game I've seen them play since like the 2015, 2017 years. And Joe, I did get a chance later on in the evening and earlier today to listen to the condensed game. Yeah, that was not major league level baseball the Phillies played yesterday.
No,
Jason
it's
has
absolutely
every
terrible.
right to be ticked off about it. So, all right, so that's it for the Phillies. Let's move on to the hot list, Joe. My hot list hitter for the week is going to be Hae-Sung Kim of the Padres. Last week he slashed 500, 609, 833 with 9 hits, 6 runs, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 5 walks, and a strikeout. Pretty damn good week right there. Do you have a regular hot hitter, or are you just doing Moneyball this week?
I'm just gonna do Moneyball this week.
All right, fire away.
The Moneyball hitter, no surprise to you, Ronald Acuna Jr. had himself a heck of a week for Atlanta. 412, 565, 588, an OPS of 1153.
Yeah.
6 runs, 7 hits, 1 homer, 3 RBIs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, 5 stolen bases. He's over 50 stolen bases on the year already.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane what he's doing this year. It is absolutely insane. He could be on this list pretty much every week, but the 5 stolen bases was a big, and the 5 walks. The guy is doing whatever he can to get on base and make things happen.
One stat I want to mention that I saw right before we went on the air, I mentioned to you, he is in the 99th percentile in hard hit rate, 96th percentile in strikeout rate. He is the only player in baseball to be top 5 in both categories. That's insane.
He is seeing the ball extremely well. He's game playing on the base pass extremely well. The guy is doing it all this year. It is insane.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I saw a guy hit the ball this well and cut his strikeouts down so much the way he has from his first couple years to this year. It's honestly, dude, it's such a pleasure to watch the guy play. He is so loose right now. And I believe I'd have to look this up, but I think he is the fastest Brave to get to 50 stolen bases in a year. Just insane. Considering we had Otis Nixon for a couple years in the 90s. We had Rabbit Marinville back in Boston, who, as legend says, he was so fast he could turn the light switch off in the hotel room and be under the covers before the light actually, turned off. That's what his teammates always said about him. They had Rafael Furcal in the 2000s, and Furcal was crazy fast, one of the fastest players I think I've ever seen. They even had Billy Hamilton for a little bit, and Acuna's just he's running in a league of his own right now.
Yeah, this is Joey Votto level stuff. Seeing the ball.
Oh, it's insane. It really is. I don't think I've ever seen a guy drop his strikeout rate as much as Acuna has from previous years into this year. He is down to, I just had this pulled up. Here it is. His strikeout rate is down to 11.8%. It peaked in 2020 at 29%, although it's 2020 season. The non-2020 high was 2019 when he was at a 26.5% strikeout rate, and he is down to 11.8. That's insane.
Yeah, like I said, he's seeing the ball extremely well, and he's doing everything they're asking him to do. It's excellent.
Yep. All right. My hot pitcher for the week, Joe, is Shohei Ohtani. I don't often go with the guy who only has one start, but he threw a complete game shutout, so a 1-0 record on the week. And not only was the complete game shutout, Joe was a one-hitter. Now he had 3 walks, but still a one-hitter. ERA of 0, whip of .44 with 8 strikeouts. Probably a big reason why my pitching wasn't terrible last week.
Yeah, I'll say.
Do you have any other top pitchers you rolling into adulting reliever?
Two starters I want to touch on, both from division rivals, oddly enough. Freddie Peralta from Milwaukee, 1 start, 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 13 strikeouts.
Damn.
So he had himself a heck of a 1 start there. His whip was a .67. So excellent start for him. And another single start guy, I got to throw him a bone as much as I ragged on him today. Steven Matz from the Cardinals. A guy that I was pretty high on when he was in New York. I think he was just improperly managed. But this in the Sunday game against the Cubs, he made 2 starts, but he was 1-0. He got the win on yesterday. 12 innings, 9 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. So the fact that he's able to he didn't allow a single run and gave up 9 hits, that's impressive work by him to spread it out. And like I said, I think I said this when he was in New York. I think that he was improperly managed there. I think in the right environment, this kid has a chance to do some stuff with what's left of his career.
Well, let's think about it, Joe. When you have Jacob deGrom, Steve Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, and Steven Matz, and you mismanage all 4 of those guys into not only not getting a World Series, but also basically ruining or partially ruining careers with horrible management of injuries. Yeah, mismanagement seems to be the common thread there, doesn't it?
It sure does. I honestly, I hope that he can make something out of the career that he should have had at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be nice for him. What sucked about his time with the Mets is he was a Long Island kid, and so it was kind of the hometown kid trying to make a difference on the Mets, and got completely destroyed by everything else.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, Joe, who's your adulting reliever of the week?
My adulting reliever is Adbert Alzolay from the Cubs. Obviously, I was pretty high on him when he was a starter. In the bullpen, he's found a way to make a difference. This week, 3 for 3 in save opportunities, 3 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts, a .60 whip, and really has settled into a role that he didn't have at the beginning of the year. And he's at, I think, 12 saves now. So he's having himself a decent year, and now that the Cubs are playing a lot better, getting more opportunities, I think slight homer pick, but I think he certainly earned it with the performance this week.
Given that performance, I think we can definitely allow a homer pick like that. He's more than earned it. That's a hell of a week, man. All right, Joe, would you like to I'm going to let you lead with your hot team first because I know who it should be, so go ahead.
Well, I mean, obviously the Cubs are the hot team for me. Obviously, it's the one I follow the most frequently, and they're doing a bang-up job of changing the story for them right now, and being in a position to buy, even if it's small buys. Being in a position to buy 8-2 in their last 10. But I got to give, Cincinnati a ton of credit. They've just been continued to be excellent this week too. Hopefully this week it goes south on them, but understandably. But I mean, you have to give them credit for being in this position, and it's not a position that we expected them to be in.
No, it's really not. I love seeing it. I really do. You know me. I'm always going to be I'm always going to be a sympathetic Cubs fan at heart. Yeah, it's my brother's team, and Ben, my youngest son, that's his favorite team as well. So I'm never upset to see the Cubs do well unless it's against Atlanta.
Should make for an interesting weekend for the two of us. That's for sure.
Yes, it will. Yes, it absolutely will. I struggled to pick a top team, a hot team, because the Cubs were the only really obvious pick. The Reds are 7-3, but they dropped their first series, picked up their second series, and that's been pretty consistent with all the 7-3 teams out there. So instead of the Reds, since you've got them to start the week, I'm going to go with the Angels. I like the run that they've put themselves on. They did go 4-2 this past week. They swept the Tigers. They did drop 2-3 to the Blue Jays on the road. But with that sweep, they looked really good, and they've been playing really well in the last 2 weeks. They previous week swept the Yankees and then took 2 out of 3 from the Pirates. So, that's a team where things are looking up. They're trading aggressively, and honestly, man, Shohei Ohtani is probably, if things keep going this way, he should be looking at them as a front runner to keep him. I think they are putting their money where their mouth is, and it very well could pay dividends for them come the offseason.
You certainly hope it does for their sake, and the sake of folks like Mike Trout, who why he stayed, I still don't understand, but to make it worth his while, and make it worth Shohei's time too. It's nice to see them kind of being aggressive and seeing what they can do. They're up 4-1 on your boys right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Going into the bottom of the ninth. So their moves are paying dividends. Lopez pitched at one point in the game for them, their new acquisition, and is throwing somewhere around 100. So,
damn.
So if you see him the rest of the series, that might not be fun for you.
He'll wear out if they run him all 3 games in a row. We'll get to him by the 3rd game.
Yeah.
Honorable mention hot team for me for this past week is the Baltimore Orioles. Even though they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Phillies, they showed up this past weekend against the Yankees, especially yesterday, where they struck out 18 Yankee hitters, and Aaron Boone said, and I quote, "Well, if you take the strikeouts away, they hit pretty well." Excuse me?
18 out of 27 outs were strikeouts, and if you take the strikeouts away, they did okay. This is a guy who should not be a major league manager still, and the only reason he is because he backed into the playoffs last year. This is absolutely garbage. Yankee fans deserve better than this. As much as I'm not disappointed they're in last place, Yankee fans deserve better than this crap. Cashman and Boone sitting on their hands. It's just stupid.
Okay. I looked it up. I thought I wrote it down. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. 6 full innings worth of strikeouts. In 1941, Ted Williams hit 406 and had a strikeout rate of 4.5%. They struck out 14.82 more times than that last night. Dude, just either don't go to your press conference or don't try to put the rosy tinted glasses on, because it's not a good look.
Dude, if you shit the bed, just own it.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 18 strikeouts. In a 12-inning game, okay, 18 strikeouts can happen. In a 9-inning game, 18 strikeouts should not happen unless Kerry Wood's on the mound. All right, looking at the upcoming week, Atlanta right now in the middle of this Angel series. Morton versus Silseth tonight. Strider versus Sandoval tomorrow. Chirinos versus Giolito on Wednesday. And then the big weekend series, the Cubbies, Elder versus Hendricks. TBD versus Stroman. I am 95.5% sure that TBD is going to be Max Fried coming back. And then Morton versus Steele on Sunday. That's going to be a great series. Joe, I am super psyched for this series, even though I will not see one game of it because we're heading up to camp this weekend. There is no internet up there, and frankly, I'm looking forward to getting unplugged for a weekend and relaxing. So I won't be seeing the baseball. So enjoy it for both of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Obviously, I'm a big Steel guy, so I'm looking forward to Sunday. That'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, Morton Steele is going to be a really good
With
matchup.
those two. So see what happens, man.
And then the early week for you guys: 4 versus the Reds, Stroman versus Abbott, Steele versus Lively, Smiley versus Williamson, and Tyone versus Weaver. Damn it, we missed Tyone by a game.
Well, I mean, honestly, that might be better for you. Tyone has like a 1.9 ERA since July started.
Okay, all right. I'm happy we're missing him then.
So he's been excellent. He's done just enough. Looks more like his old self.
That's good.
Which is good. Stroman got absolutely rocked through 3 innings tonight. Gave up 6 runs. So.
Crap. I did remember to put him in the rotation today. Shoot. Well, that's not the great way to start off a week against Jason, but that's okay.
You're welcome, Jason.
That's all right. We got time to rally. I'm only down 8-10 so far. Plenty of time to rally.
Yeah. So, Stroman has been absolutely terrible since the London series. Honestly, since Trey Mancini's era at first base in the London series. So, whatever clubhouse presence Trey Mancini offers, it's not making up for everything else.
No, it's not. He has not been a great signing.
It feels like he broke Marcus Stroman or something when they were overseas, because ever since then he's been half of the pitcher he was the first 2 months of the year.
And then for the
counter runs, he's not locating well. He's not throwing real well. So honestly, I mean, if the Cubs were in the trade market, I just don't know what you're getting for a guy like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
At his best.
All right, and then the Phillies have the 4-game set again. Tonight's Walker versus Cabrera, Suarez versus Alcantara, Wheeler versus Garrett, Nola versus Cueto, and then 3 versus the Royals, Sanchez versus Lyles, Walker versus Yarbrough, Suarez versus Greinke. And then our Orioles, our local team, 4 at the Blue Jays, Gibson versus Bassett, Bradish versus Ryu, Rodriguez versus Kikuchi, and then TBD versus Gossman. And then 3 versus the Mets, Kremer versus Carrasco, Gibson versus Verlander, and Bradish versus Quintana. I do say Gibson versus Verlander with an asterisk beside, because I'm with you, Joe. I do not think it's very likely that Verlander will still be on the Mets by the time that start rolls around.
There's a lot of talk, too, about the Orioles getting in on the starting pitching market. So it could be completely flipped around. I mean, obviously not Gibson leaving or anything, but, you could see Verlander playing the Mets this weekend if the Orioles decide to make a move for that. Yeah.
All right, Joe, you got anything else for this week?
No, buckle up. Let's enjoy the rest of the trade deadline and see what transpires.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. All right, everyone, you can find the audio recordings on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. You can see us live on YouTube, Facebook Live, as well as Twitter. Merchandise is at redbubble.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. On our Twitter page at DDAB_podcast. All 3 of us are there as well. I'm at Parlord314. Jason's at JRicker300. Joe's at JoltonJoe35. Guys, we're presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC and sponsored by the Whiskey and Blade Barbershop in Lidditz. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good night and good luck with the trade deadline. Philly fans, I hope something happens for you.